What do you get when you combine two California ladies with a penchant for drug use, a knack for getting caught, and a strong need to pass a urine test? Oh, and a DHL truck? Well, you get the recipe for today's episode.
Welcome to Capers and Cocktails, true crime that doesn't take itself too seriously and obviously gives you something to enjoy while you listen. The following content may be disturbing to some. Discretion is advised. If you're enjoying one of our themed cocktails, ensure you're of legal drinking age and have fun, but drink responsibly.
Welcome to season 3, I guess, except with a new name, new branding, new microphone, lots of new things. Like I said in our last episode, I've sort of run dry when it comes to margarita recipes, and I'm also wanting to branch out and have a little bit more fun with the true crime. So I'm really excited to be here. Also, I'm in the middle of a bartending class, so I'm excited to share with you what I've learned. And also, like I said in the last episode, I've learned that a lot of our friends here are not drinkers. So for each episode, we're going to do a mocktail. Sometimes it'll be just as easy as changing a few ingredients, and sometimes, spoiler alert, like today, it'll be almost a completely different recipe. It just depends on the week. Remember though, the recipes are always in the description box, and if you're watching on YouTube, I'm also putting them on the screen for you to see. So hopefully you can pause and, go get the ingredients and make the drink along with us. Now, this cocktail has a name that some people consider offensive, and because I'm not interested in harming anyone as best as I can on Capers and Cocktails, we're going to change the name. It was invented in 2007 and presented at the San Mateo County Fair. Now, a county fair with a cocktail contest? That's my kind of county fair. Anyway, it won Best New Cocktail of the Year. And since 2007, it's become somewhat of a local favorite. It's offered in hotels in the San Francisco Bay Area. Instead of its given name, we're going to call it the Orange Crush. And those of you who are Margs and Mayhem stalwarts, you may know that I actually did have another Orange Crush, but that was a tequila-based drink, a margarita, and this one is a vodka-based drink, so it's a vodka Orange Crush. It's actually really a different drink. I love anything orange flavored, so an Orange Crush is the perfect way to kick off 2023, in my opinion. Now, the reason that our mocktail has to be a completely different drink from our cocktail this episode is because if it wasn't, the mocktail would just be orange juice. Yes, our Orange Crush cocktail this time is simply orange juice, vodka, triple sec, and Grand Marnier. You can also use Cointreu, but I'm using Grand Marnier. So that's what we're going to do for our cocktail. For our mocktail, it will be orange juice, sparkling water, lemon juice, and if you'd like, simple syrup. Okay, let's begin. So our mocktail, we're going to take 3 parts orange juice, 1 part lemon juice, and simple syrup to taste and put it into your shaker. I actually used a sweetened orange flavored sparkling water for this, but you can use any kind of sparkling water that you want. Like I said, I love orange. You're going to shake that up. You're going to strain it over fresh ice, and you're going to top it off with 4 parts sparkling water. As a reminder, I say parts because you might not have a shot glass, and shot glasses don't tend to be all the same size, but you can literally use whatever you want. The important part is to get the ratios correct, but if it helps you to think of it in shots, go for it. For our Orange Crush cocktail, we're going to take 4 parts orange juice, 2 parts vodka, 1 part triple sec, and 1 part Grand Marnier. We're going to shake it up. We're going to strain it over fresh ice. That's it. We're ready to drink. On December 26th, 2007, the day after Christmas, Crystal Evans was 26 years old and her best friend Denise McClure was 24. They lived in Crescent City, California. Crescent City is at the very tippy top of California, very close to the Oregon border, if you didn't know. It's named for the crescent-shaped beach that it has, and at that time, it had around 7,000 residents. It was a pretty small town. And right off the bat, I have to say that these 2 lovely ladies do not make the list of notable persons from Crescent City, at least according to Wikipedia. I'm totally stunned. US Highway 101 is the beautiful highway that stretches from the top to the bottom of California, the one that you always see in movies that people like to ride in with their tops down on their convertibles. Well, that's the scene of today's crime. But before you get all freaked out, when the highway ran through Crescent City, it was more like a regular road, so no traffic accident-inducing crimes happening today. On this day, it was a nice wintry day, temperatures in the low 50s. It's kind of where I want to live when it's the winter. A DHL driver was doing his regular route, and there was nothing extraordinary to report. Just your average day. Except for one thing. Well, two people. Crystal and Denise. As this highway driver turned onto Highway 101, Crystal and Denise frantically ran to the road to flag him down. After spotting the two pretty young women, well, this DHL driver pulled over. He was already breaking protocol, but they looked desperate. The women started smooth talking. They had just mailed a package and they had forgotten to put something inside of it. It was an urgent matter. It had to be fixed immediately. Couldn't he just help them? Just this once. Oh boy, the DHL drivers thought. My chance to be a hero. So he eagerly let the women into the back of his van. Definitely against protocol. And then things got weird. As soon as they got inside the van, Crystal and Denise dropped their saccharine smiles and started clawing at packages like lions to prey. They were throwing packages left and right. And now the DHL driver was becoming concerned. He was not quite the knight in shining armor that he had imagined himself to be. Then he heard Crystal mutter, quote, "I gotta find it. I can't go to prison," end quote. Okay, well, now he has to step in and stop things. He's broken several rules, and now he's behind in his route for the day. My geriatric dog will not lay down. There he goes. Okay. At this moment, Crystal finds it, what she's looking for, a package, and she immediately rips it open. What was inside? The DHL driver could only imagine. Jewels? Money? Something they want to steal? No. It was pee. A urine sample. Lay down, Max. Before the driver had a chance to become even more freaked out, Crystal yelled to Denise, "I got it! Let's scram!" The two leapt from the back of the DHL truck with their golden prize in hand and ran back into the neighborhood, legend has it, making whooping sounds as they went. The DHL driver just shook his head, stared at them run away, and continued on his route. So why would two women ravenously scavenge a DHL truck in the middle of the day to search for a urine sample? Well, the DHL driver didn't know it either, but these two ladies were probationers. I did not know that word. I had to look it up. I thought it would be probationees, but no, it's probationers. Regardless, they were required to regularly send in urine samples in the mail, and they had to be drug tested to make sure that they were still clean. In fact, the consequence, if Crystal had tested positive, would have been an additional 2 years in prison. Something that Crystal was obviously not interested in, but not interested in enough to not do drugs. There was a lot of nots in that sentence. Regardless, she did not want to go back to prison, but the women knew that their drug tests would not be clean. Desperate and terrified with the prospect of going back to prison, the two hatched a hapless plot. They would take the tests as normal, meaning they would, pee in the cup, and then they would stick them in the mail, just like they normally did. But then they would steal the urine back during delivery, giving them a ready-made excuse to tell their probation officer, "We mailed the samples, officer. We have no idea what happened to them." Well, there were a couple of holes in the plan. The biggest being they didn't actually see which truck had taken their sample, which meant that they would have to make a guess as to which DHL truck it was. That day, they'd actually already tried to flag down another one, but that guy he whooshed on past. He drove on. The night before, they had also attempted to break into the county probation department, but officials were so confused about what had happened, they weren't even sure a crime had been committed. They had also done absolutely nothing to disguise themselves, which meant they could be immediately identified by the first and the second DHL driver and whatever cameras were in the probation office. Crystal and Denise were both quickly caught. I'm sure you're surprised. They were charged with the following: second-degree robbery, attempted robbery, false imprisonment, which I guess was the DHL driver, but that one's a little confusing to me because I would imagine that he could have just gotten away because they were distracted trying to find P. Whatever. And destruction of evidence. They both weirdly pled not guilty. And as part of the regular protocol, they had a cheek swab drug test. Crystal, as you may have guessed it, tested positive for methamphetamines. She went straight back to prison, not passing go and not collecting any more vials of urine. She was sentenced to 3 years for felony probation violation by destroying evidence. She was released in 2010. All the charges related to the actual case, so the second-degree robbery, attempted kidnapping, whatever, all of those were dismissed, actually, in February of 2008. And I'm not sure what happened with Denise. From what I could see, actually, she wasn't even on probation. She just got wrapped up in this mess, maybe just a friend trying to help out. Who knows? And it looks like both of them have stayed mostly out of trouble since that incident, at least in Del Norte County. Strangely, that urine sample that they stole, well, it was tested eventually and came back clean. I'm really confused why they didn't destroy that urine sample when they got it. They were not smart about this situation. In fact, Del Norte County District Attorney Mark Reese would say that, quote, "It's one of the most nonsensical crimes I've seen in the 20 years I've been in law enforcement," end quote. I also found myself a little confused in this case because it already seemed like a flawed system to have someone mail in urine samples. Couldn't they just have anyone take the urine sample? This case puzzled me for another reason, which is that why are they having people mail in urine samples for drug testing anyway? Evidently in Crescent City, at least at this time, they didn't have their own lab, so they would send the samples to Eureka, a mere 84 miles away, and after processing, I guess they would get the results back electronically in Del Norte County. DHL held the exclusive contract to deliver these samples, although I'm wondering if they maybe reconsidered renegotiating that contract after Crystal and Denise's antics. Thanks for hanging out with me. Okay, y'all, I have some very exciting news. Starting now, you can actually request a live performance of Capers and Cocktails for your happy hour with your friends or coworkers or whomever. I have been testing these shows out over the past few months and people actually love them. There are lots of options, from stories that I've already done on a previous episode, even of Margs and Mayhem, or I can come up with a new story that you decide on, or I can give you a list, and that might be on a future episode, or you can even have an exclusive story that I won't tell to anyone else. These can be done live all over the world virtually or in person if you are in the Austin, Texas area. They're super interactive and we'll make the drink together and then go through the crime. You can ask questions. I have questions that I ask. They're super, super fun. There is a link in the description box that will take you to a Google form where you can request a show, and I hope you'll give it a try. Okay, y'all, I've made some changes to social media, so I just want to make sure you're aware. The names have changed for all of the social media. If you're following me, you don't need to do anything. I just changed the names. You're still following me. Each one of my social media accounts does something a little bit different, so I hope you'll check them out. The TikTok, which is my personal favorite, does 60-second versions of each one of these episodes, and then we do another TikTok where I just make the drink. On Instagram, that's where we're interacting with each other and asking questions, and that's where you'll get some updates about what's happening with the show if I miss an episode or whatever. If you go to Twitter, then there I do a true crime of the day story. I don't do that every day, but several times a week. And then on Facebook, there's a more long form, but still short, written version of each one of these stories, and that's also where I post announcements and stuff like that. For all of these social media, it is Capers and Cocktails, and the "and" is spelled out, except for Twitter, because apparently Capers and Cocktails is too long. So on Twitter, it's Capers Cocktails. But like I said, if you just go to my link tree, then you can click on those directly and follow me there. Podcast listeners, please leave a review. I think I have like 1 review on iTunes. And if you're watching on YouTube, please like, subscribe, and hit the little bell to be notified when new episodes are posted. All of that is 100% free. Oh, and you may have noticed that new episodes are now coming out on Tuesdays. I'm going to be doing 3 uploads a month instead of 4. That gives me a chance to catch up and you a chance to catch up. For now, I'll be taking off the 3rd Tuesday of the month, and we'll see what happens if there's 5 Tuesdays in a month. I don't know. I can't think that far ahead. Anyway, I hope this gives you a chance to get caught up. I've heard that a lot of you get behind, and so do I. So that's what we're doing. Next week, we're headed to the not-so-friendly skies to talk about the attempted hijacking of Federal Express Flight 705. Y'all, I have been doing research on this story and I literally can't sleep. It is so wild what happened and what the men went through on this flight during the attempted hijacking. It involves a guitar case full of weapons, an insurance plot, and an airplane being used as a weapon. It's wild. We are going to be making what is the easiest and oftentimes most popular drink to drink on a flight. Any guesses? The Bloody Mary. Ingredients for next week's episode are also in the description box. Thanks for listening and sticking with me through these big changes. I'll see you next week. And remember, there are always alternatives to murder and stealing your own pee.